Okay, can you? Yeah. Okay, because I need your voice. Okay, so Kat, when I was driving home, I was on my way to go look at mirrors. I told you I had to go figure out what to put in the back of the container. The Lord said put a mirror in there. So I went and looked, and I called you, and I said I found these two big mirrors that are side by side that would take up the whole back wall, but they're two separate mirrors, and I don't want to put two separate mirrors in there, but I had the feeling that that's what the Lord wanted me to do, right?
Yes.
And then I said, well, would you pray with me? Because it seems like the Lord's telling me to put two mirrors side by side. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then I told you, well, I got to drive to this other glass company because these are two big mirrors that are in giant frames, but they'll fit exactly in the space in the back of the container. Is that right?
Yes.
Then what did I say about what I felt the Lord was telling me to do?
It would just seem like he's wanting you to get these, but you're unsure. You want to do the right thing.
Like he wants me to get the two big mirrors that are in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it fits with the paradigm, but I want to make sure I do what he says. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what you said.
Then I was driving to a glass company called Samuel's Glass, and I said, I'm pretty positive he's saying get the two big mirrors that are in the frame. They're on discount. They're like heavily discounted. And I thought, if he wants a whole mirror on the whole back wall, I don't want to mess it up. But then it seems like he almost wants me to get two separate mirrors because it fits the paradigm. Because we have, two different reflections. We have a right side up one and an upside down one. Is that basically right?
Yes.
And so then what did we do? I said, let's cast a lot. And then tell me the words that when you cast a lot, what it said.
I said visualization, mental picture.
Mental picture. And isn't that what I told you? He's given me like a picture of two of them side by side, kind of like the ark. Is that correct?
Yes, it says see in mind's eye, get a mental picture of.
Right. Okay. So then after that, I said, well, I'm going to go buy Samuel's Glass and see how much these are. And to do a 1/4-inch mirror, I told you it was almost how much to do that same size on the back wall. How much was it?
900 something.
Yeah, almost $1,000. So then you said you want to cast another lot after I told you how much they wanted to charge. And then I said no, because what happened?
Because you heard the Lord say, I'll show you when you get home.
Okay, so then I came home and I cast a lot, and it said cheap, inexpensive, bargain, half, there it is, half the price. So it says half the price, marked down, cut rate, marked down. And so didn't I tell you the two big ones that were in the frames were marked down, severely marked down?
Yes.
So, did we get a perfect confirmation?
Yes, absolutely.
So, isn't that fascinating? So, in the back of the container, he wants me to putting in two big mirrors that are side by side in separate frames, and they take up the exact width of the wall in the back and almost all the way to the top. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Okay, so as these things happen, I document. Because if I document it, then, ahead of time, then when it happens, I have proof of it. Okay, I was on the phone with Kat, and all those things just happened. I mean, there's no way I would ever think to put two separate mirrors side by side in that container. I wouldn't even think of it. But I walked into a store, and there were these two giant mirrors that were on this incredible discount. And I thought, I probably can't I don't want to get away with that. I want to do whatever the Lord tells me to do. So I looked at him, and then I kept hearing in my spirit, no, that's what I want you to do. And I was like, that's weird. Why would you want me to put two mirrors in instead of just one mirror across the whole back? So I went by a glass company to check on the price. It was double the price. And then when I came home and I said, Lord, just tell me what to do. He said, open that book. I opened it, and there it is. It says, marked down, reduced, half the price. It's impossible. So it's almost kind of like the ark. They went 2 by 2, it's just so bizarre. But we know there's a right side up you and an upside down you, all of us. And that's what's going in the container, which has been reconciled. It's just mind-boggling. All right, folks. the reason I'm doing this, I'm videotaping this. Just came on my email. It says your announcement, you're invited, and then I opened it up and look what it was. Okay, now here's the thing. This is so bizarre. Earlier this morning, I walked out in my living room, and I looked out the door to the side patio, and there was like this Vesica Pisces, just like that, floating in the air. It was the craziest thing. I was like, what the hell is it? I photographed it. And I was like, what is this? And so I made all these photos of it, and I was like, this is so bizarre. It's like it's right on the patio on the stairs leading up to the container. And I just thought, that is just so random. So I took a bunch of photos of it this morning, and I was trying to figure out how is it doing that. And it was obviously this depth reflection somehow in my glass door. And so it looks like it's way out on the patio going up the steps into the container. It's the most bizarre thing. But it was so wild when I saw it. It looked like a scene from Star Trek where it's just floating on the patio. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I opened this up. I opened up my emails, and it's the same exact thing. Wedding registry, announcement, you're invited. So, yeah. For those of y'all that have been watching, it's one of the most, it's so supernatural, and every step along the way the Lord proves that the step of faith that was taken was orchestrated by Him. For example, when the Lord told me, that He wanted me to buy the container, I was up late at night and the TV was on, and I had drawn out a floor plan of, the backyard. Like, I drew the different buildings and what it would look like if the container was there. And while I was drawing that thing out, this TV commercial comes on, and it's in like Australian accent. The guy goes,
"Just give us a call and we'll deliver one of our bright, shiny moving containers right to your home or office."
So I was like, what? Because I was telling Clay, I was like, I can't explain it. It's like the Lord's compelling me to get this container, and here I am drawing it. So all along the way, these things have happened. When the guys came over to pick the container up, the Lord had told me, I want you to put Revelation 3:10 on it before you pick it up. That was the criteria. Before you pick that container up with the crane, Revelation 3:10 needs to be on it. And I was like, okay. And so then when the day comes to pick the container up, the ground support guy named Jose, there happens to be this strange instance where I ran up the corner of the container. By the way, I had no business on it. And there was a wasp nest in it. And the wasps surrounded my head. They did not sting me. And then Jose asked me if I'd killed all the wasps, because I came inside, got some raid, and killed them. And I said I wouldn't send you up there unless I had. And then he said, well, because I was in New Braunfels, which is a city down the street from San Antonio, he said, because I was in New Braunfels, and then he said, and the whole sky turned black. I was like, I mean, it was so crazy. I was like, what did you say? George, who was here that day, thought I was actually disturbed, like he had said something really wrong. Like, maybe a situation that was getting uncomfortable, because I was so taken aback by it. I was like, what did you say? I was so surprised that he said, the whole sky turned black. I was like, and he moved his arms. I was like, that is so crazy. Because I had just done the locusts. I'd done all the locusts. And the locusts are going to come out of the pit. And when they come out of the pit, the sun and the air are darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit and the locusts that come out of the smoke. So for some guy to show up on this property, with the crane guy, and to say the whole sky turned black, and he didn't say it once, he said it several times. It was just like, that is crazy. So anyway, so that brings us to today. Okay, so I told you guys that the Lord had communicated to me that He wanted me to put a mirror in the back of the container, and I said, okay, you want a mirror on the back wall. He communicated to me that He wanted this octagonal shaped table, with the top octagonal shape with a rectangular base, and that's what I was to produce. He's communicated to me what's to go on the table. It's being laser cut. It has the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew going around the base of the table where light comes through it from behind. He communicated to me on the top of the table, I'm to cut through it and there's going to be Hebrew writing, and I believe it's I am the Lord, or I am that I am. And so that right now is in production. These things have been communicated just over the last 4 or 5 days. So on Monday, I went to look. I had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off. Okay, and I don't get 3 days off in a row. I haven't had 3 days off in a row like that in a long time. And so I thought today I will use to go find this mirror, because I got to get a mirror on the back wall. And so while I'm not out there cutting boards, mixing cement, digging holes, carrying boards, going up and down ladders, I thought I'll use this time just to, get the other stuff that needs to get done lined up. It's time to get the mirror thing in the millworks. I got to get it going. The Bible says, a man may devise his plan, but the Lord orders his steps. Guys, I can't even tell you how true that is, because sometimes I go to places I'm like, why am I here? Like, why did I come here? I seriously question sometimes where I end up, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? Well, the other day on Monday, I got up and I was praying, Lord, what do you want me to do about these mirrors? Where should I go? And it just entered my mind. It's some new furniture store opened out here in San Antonio, and it's like from Dallas, and they carry very large products like mirrors and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what, I'll just go out there and check it out. So I did. I drove out there and I went to this place. I can't even tell the name of the place. And I went in and I was looking at these mirrors, and I happened to have my tape measure in my hand. And so, there's these giant mirrors and frames. And from a construction's point of view, I was thinking, how great would it be if I could just find a big mirror that fits that whole back wall that's in a frame, That would be the bomb. It would save me having to frame up, having to plywood, put decking on it, then bring a big mirror in and glue it on. It would save me all kinds of work. And I was thinking maybe I can find something that cost effective wise is the same. So that's what I was doing. And so I got out there and I see these big mirrors. They're like $700, $900. And I'm just like, And so then I see these two mirrors that are side by side. They're identical. And it was strange because this store did not have, big mirrors that were identical. They were like one of a kind type things. One giant mirror in this frame, another one in that frame. So anyway, I see these two that are identical, and I had my tape measure on me. And so what I did was I ran the tape measure across the bottom of the mirrors together. And I went, oh my gosh, those would fit the back of the container perfectly. And I'm like, what a shame that it's not just one big frame with one big mirror. And then I hear just in my spirit, in my mind, I picture these two big mirrors, like putting them in the container. And I thought, no, that can't be right. There's no way. Guys, I've decorated a lot of stuff in my day. And that's just not what you do. You just don't split up an entire wall by putting a line in the middle of two mirrors. You know what I mean? You just don't do it. And so anyway, I hear that in my spirit, and I'm like, well, that's not right. So I go out to my car, and I get in my truck, and I start it up, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just thinking, and I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to do, man? And then I'm like, well, I got to call and find out how much it's going to cost just to, mount a mirror on that back wall. That's what my plan was. And so I call my friend Kat. Now, Kat and I pray together. She's like one of my prayer buddies. And so when I called her, I said, Kat, it's so strange. In my mind, I can literally see these mirrors going in to the container. It's the strangest thing. It's like I'm having this mental movie playing of the mirrors going in. I'm like, it's so strange. And I said, but, it doesn't make any sense. Why would the Lord want me to put two separate mirrors side by side in the back of the container? That just doesn't make any sense. And so I said, would you pray with me? Let's pray together. And she and I prayed many times. And let me tell you something. You want to talk about supernatural? You want to see God show up? You want to see instantaneous communication? This has happened repetitively. It happens all the time around here. For anybody that's visited or been here, can testify to that. So I call Kat and I pray with her. I'm like, Lord, could you please tell me what's up with the mirrors? Can you tell me what you want me to do? And, we pray about it. And I said, Kat, let's cast a lot, just like they did with Jonah. To find out who the guy was on the boat, there was all these names, and they reached in and pulled out Jonah's name. If you don't think God can do that, you don't have a very high opinion of what God can do. So I know that if I need an answer, just like the night I got saved, When the Lord told me read the tags on the clothes you're carrying, and I read the tag in my shirt and said 100% nylon, and then I heard the Lord say turn it upside down, the word nylon, and it was 100% no line. Okay, so anyway, so we cast a lot, and I said, Lord, what is it you want me to do? Now look, these are our show notes up here from the radio show we did the other day, and right here, this picture right here, F1, shows like when we cast a lot, what the Lord showed it, and it says, see in mind's eye to vision, mental picture of. Well, what's really crazy is those words right there are when someone is sitting in North Carolina, I'm in Texas on the phone in my truck, and I say, open whatever book is in front of you, and we'll get our answer. So to open up an 800,000 word book and see those words, after I just said during the prayer, like I can see it in my head, that those two mirrors going in, and I was like, oh, that's so weird. And I said, you know what, that's impossible. And then I said, but you know what, let's do this. I'm gonna go to Samuel's Glass, and I'm gonna go get a quote. So I went down to Samuel's Glass. They were actually closed. They had moved locations. So I called their new location. I said, how much would y'all charge for this? And they said for a 1/4-inch mirror on that space, it was $990 some. I was like, that's crazy. And so I'm trying to do this thing effectively, and I'm thinking, no way, $900. But if that's what it costs, that's what it costs. And I'm like, wow, what a quandary. So I called Kat back. I said, how much do you think it costs to do the whole wall and mirror? And she said $800. I said 900 some bucks. And so she was like, that's crazy. So I told her, I said, look, let's pray. And she said, well, do you want to cast a lot? And I said, no, what I want to do is, she said, do you want to cast a lot? And right then I heard the Lord say to me very clearly, I will show you right when you get home. So I come home, I walk in the door, and I actually had kind of forgotten about it. When I walked in the door, I went over to the fridge, and then I heard in my spirit, Jonathan, and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. You said you'll tell me right when I get home. So I walk over to an 800,000 word thesaurus and open it up, and it says purchase for half price. Now, guys, I was like, that's crazy, because the mirrors that I looked at, they were half price. They had red tags on them. They were $200 and, $200 and something per mirror instead of $1,000. And I was like, that's crazy. It says purchase for half price. And so I photographed that and I documented that. Now here's the thing. So I took the step of faith. I went and bought the mirrors. I picked them up today. But here's what I want to show you that's just off the hook. Tuesday morning, I was in here praying, and I said, Lord, please let me know what's going on. Show me what you want me to do. Let me know what you want me to know. I want to show you guys a picture up here, over here on the screen. You see that's Vesica Pisces. Well, what's really weird is the night before, this prayer, I was sitting in this very office showing someone from Phoenix, Arizona, what the Vesica Pisces was on Google Images, explaining it was the intersection of the first two sets, and all the stuff that I've shared with you guys. Let me show you something. I was praying in here. I went into the other room, and when I walked into the other room, I looked out my sliding glass door. Okay, guys, I'm going to let y'all see this in the show notes. When I sent Dave these pictures, for some reason they turned sideways, which is extremely bizarre. But when I walked into my when I walked into my breakfast room, those things were like floating on my patio. Okay, and I was like, what in the hell is that? Okay, now listen. It was some kind of light anomaly, and since then, I've tried to reproduce it. I went back there this morning at the exact same time the sun came up, and I was trying to figure out what it was. We're going to go in the other room right now, and I'm going to show you just a quick testimony. So anyway, I didn't clean any of this up because I wanted it to stay like it was for a reason. This is just a bunch of stuff we're using, for the container, and at the end of the day, I'll set it here so it's easy to get to. This thing in particular, I wanted to leave here because I thought that this might be causing the anomaly because it was sitting in there. So here's the deal. I walk out here after praying, guys, and I walk out here and I look out there on the patio, and there's this Vesica Pisces floating. Guys, the same light sources you're looking at right now were the Vesica Pisces. The two intersecting circles, guys, they were floating like in midair over there, not there, but over there. And I was trying to figure it out. And I was over here trying to block the light, and I'm trying to block the light to this thing, going, what in the hell is making that? And I'm thinking maybe the neighbor has a mirror over there on that. And I'm just going like, what in the hell is causing that? And so I'm trying to plug up light sources. And I was like, what is it? And so I didn't figure it out. Because it was these two perfect intersecting circles just floating out there. And I was like, that is crazy. So I photographed it, I documented it. Okay, now here's where everything's coming off the hook. From the beginning of this container testimony, I told y'all, this represents the bride of Christ. I've told everybody, go back and look at the record. I told everybody, the Lord told me, this is the bride getting ready. This is the new Jerusalem getting ready. This is the church of Philadelphia getting ready to leave, the bride of Christ. And that's what this container represents. That's why he said put Revelation 3:10 on it before you pick it up, because it represents the church being picked up, taken off the earth, all hell breaks loose, and then it says in Revelation 21, and I saw the new Jerusalem coming down out of heaven adorned as a bride. So I've told you that that container out there represents the new Jerusalem, the bride of Christ. And I mean, this is like the faith walk of all faith walks, folks. The things he's telling me to do, most people would say, no way, you're crazy. But every step along the way, he's proven it. So here's the thing. When I saw that Vesica Pisces floating out there and having just given someone that information the night before what the Vesica Pisces was, it was the beginning of all things on this planet. The first two cells, the seed of the serpent, seed of the woman, it was the beginning of the system that the angels got trapped in. And I was like, that is so crazy. I photographed it yesterday. After I photographed it, I walked into my room. I had an email from Best Buy. Let me tell you what I do with emails from Best Buy. I select it and I delete it. Let me tell you what I do with emails from the Container Store or any Home Depot. Select, delete. That's what I do with them. For some reason, I clicked on it. Best Buy, it said, you are invited. And it was the identical Vesica Pisces, 2 rings intersecting like a wedding. You're invited, and it's a wedding invitation. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Well, then here's another thing. That becomes part of the show notes for the radio program I'm doing yesterday. Well, someone posted in Facebook this poem that's about the wedding, and it's the Vesica Pisces yesterday. So here's the thing. I've documented everything. Everything is moving along quickly now on the container. And all I can tell you is this, guys, that this situation going on right here with this container is like an Old Testament story. That those that are getting ready to leave. At the end of this video, I want everybody to read the poem that goes with, with that, the ring, you'll see it. There's a ring that's got 2 angels with the Vesica Pisces. I want you to read the poem, and I want you to consider that I had just taken the table that day to get plasma cut, I am the Lord, and the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew around the whole thing. Just think about that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and post this and add this to the documentation, and I'm going to document everything that happens. That's it.